think behaviour for us as a whole is still, it's very stable because we're an enormous entity, obviously, with YouTube and off of YouTube as well in terms of distribution and how we move there. We are seeing growth in the kind of distribution partners such as Samsung and Apple and so on like that, and Sky, for example, from our distribution network. But of course, at the same time, YouTube is an enormous entity for us, and it continues to be. I'd say the kind of key element from our point of view in terms of distribution, just thinking about screens is really important for us, and we don't really think about on and off YouTube in terms of the way the viewer watches, because ultimately the viewer is the one that we're serving, and if they decide to watch via one platform or another, it's absolutely no consequence to us. What we do see though within that YouTube environment and in general from a screen point of view is that the growth in that TV screen consumption is definitely on the up and growing, and we see pretty much reflective of the kind of YouTube in general in terms of the content we see consumed there. So I'd say in general what we are seeing is that kind of growth of the TV screen being consumed, and YouTube it continues to be a really big part of that. TV is not going away from the kind of perspective of traditional means and platforms and so on like that. It's still a very big part of that consumption if you look at any of the kind of Ofcom results that have come out. What is changing is effectively just the definition by a consumer of what TV is and how they're consuming that content. And you can very much see from the moves the broadcasters are making as to the distribution they are doing. They're not really only sticking to their owned and operated platforms, they're also using other distribution platforms too. And that is ultimately just a result of trying to follow the viewer and ultimately serve them in the best way possible. So from a buying point of view and campaign point of view, it's just how do you be reflective of what the viewer's doing and not be kind of isolated to the platforms by which the tech works. And I think what we're now starting to see from the buying side is that kind of adaptation to content ultimately, and trying to kind of maintain the content being of TV quality rather than being kind of stuck to a platform in terms of that. So very much kind of seeing, yes, absolutely, TV is still a big cornerstone of plans and remains to be, and broadcast of VOD and so on like that. But then how do you continue that conversation, particularly with a generation that is, not really concerned of platforms? They just want that content in the most easy way possible. So thinking about how to line up both connected TV, fast channels, apps and so on like that, but also thinking about where does a platform like YouTube fit into that as well? How do we, think of YouTube and other platforms within that scenario fitting into that plan, having the same ethos of what TV is about, the quality of the content, the brand building, credentials that come with that. How do you maintain that, and how do you start to isolate that quality of content within the YouTube environment as well? Measurement continues to be a challenge within the general environment. A lot of what I've been talking about has been how TV is effectively proliferating across lots of different platforms. So ultimately that fragmentation is going to be a challenge to measure. But I'd say within the last 6 months, I'd say I'm very optimistic. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of traditional measurement companies now really leaning into how they can offer something new and all-encompassing. So the work of Barb, for example, but you've also got the likes of Nielsen, Audience Project, doing some really interesting things, working with the Googles of this world, working with all of these platforms in terms of apps and fast channels and broadcasters as well, to find ways by which to link all this up. And I'd say from our point of view at Vevo, where we are a content, a publisher, and we have to use lots of different platforms to reach our viewer and serve them in the best possible way, having someone to start thinking about how to dedupe Google versus other platforms that we distribute through. And we're seeing some really good progress from the likes of Audience Project and Nielsen on that, and we continue to work really, really closely with Barb to kind of move that forward too.